Hello my dudes, this is Kadima again with another funny build video for God of War Ragnarok. This time we will be using what I decided to call the Lucky Storm. And why the name Lucky Storm? So this build is going to be revolving around luck, and with that same luck we are going to be trying to get as much buffs as possible from all the weapons and armor set and the attachments we are using on everything. So here is what is part of this build. So starting with the armor, we are using the Commander's breastplate, which has the perk Fortune's Refresh, a moderate luck chance when using a runic attack or a relic to immediately restore 70% of its cooldown. So if you get lucky, basically saying, you might restore 70% of the cooldown of your runic attacks or your relic. As for the wrist, are using the rest of the same of a different armor, but both are of the same armor, which says gauntlets of guiding light and the waistguard of guiding light, and both share the melee attacks have a luck chance to critically strike, creating a damaging explosion, and the base chance will be 8%, which is not a lot, but when you have 354 luck, that does tend to happen quite a lot. As for the rest of our stats, we have 343 strength, 342 defense, 222 runic, 65 cooldown, which is not a lot, but we are not going to be worried about our actual cooldown, because we will be hoping that with 354 luck, um, our chest piece will be doing a lot of fortunes refresh as we use our attacks, our relic, our runics. Hopefully, we will be getting some of those back as we go. As for the amulets, I'm using the combination Vanine set, Muspelheim set, and three different ones which I am going to explain. So the first one, I'm using the Vanheims, which says increases Kratos' melee damage against status afflicted enemies based on his luck. Now, the moment that you get an enemy frosted, poisoned, burned, or bifrosted, you are going to start doing more melee damage based on your luck. And when you have 354 luck, the difference is visible. As for the Muspelheim says, it says increases Kratos melee damage when the permafrost emulation or mastery skills are fully charged based on runic. We have 222 runic. It's not a lot, but it will help you as you go. Now, between defeating the Berserker King and Gna the Valkyrie Queen, this enchantment, the attuned runic gem, is the only one that changes. It says in this case, increases the damage of runic attacks when the permafrost, emulation, or maelstrom steel gauges are fully charged. We are also using the Sigil of Doom, which says axe and blades melee attacks against hexed enemies have a high luck chance to trigger bonus sigil explosions. So if you get an enemy hexed, and we will be using sigil arrows most of the time, you'll be triggering quite a lot of sigil elemental explosions from the moment that you are hitting them with your axe or your blades, normal attacks. Um, as for the last one of my favorites, I've done quite a few builds with this. It's very fun to use. It can be a bit tricky sometimes, and using this build, I was not 100% focusing on having the runic storm to trigger. You are going to understand why in a moment. But this always comes in handy if you have the chance. Do using three runic attacks of three different weapons in quick succession grants a buff of increased stagger resistance and creates a storm of Bifrost. So, again, as I said, I was not 100% focused on getting this ability to trigger, but if I had the chance, I was trying to, which on a lot of occasions I did manage to do so against both the Berserker King and then afterwards against Gna, the Valkyrie Queen. You can always adapt the enchantments to something else that might benefit you more, or if you have some different idea for what you want to do with this build. But this is what I would recommend, considering how fun it is to play, um, considering what we are going to try to achieve here. As for the weapons, we are using the Leviathan Axe with the runic hailstone knob, which says moderate luck chance on hitting a frosted enemy to gain a blessing of runic. Now, the moment you get our enemy frosted with 344, 354 luck, this does trigger instantly. You just pretty much get it. Um, it's guaranteed. For the light runic attacks, my favorite, Njord's Tempest, and for the heavy, Ivaldi's Anvil. These do not change between fighting the Berserker King or Gna, they stay the same. For Blades of Chaos, I'm using the Cursed Empress handles, which has a low luck chance of any blades hit to grant an increased of strength and runic, and this can stack up to 3 times. Now, it does have a low luck chance, but when you have 354 luck, you can imagine this triggers quite a lot as well, and you can see it stacking. For the runic attacks, Rampage of the Fury, this does not change. As for the heavy, this one is the one that changes again. If I'm fighting the Berserker King, I'm using the Nemean Crush. If I am fighting the Valkyrie, I'm using Tame the Beast. Um, because it does a lot of damage. And the difference between using it against Gna and not using it against the Berserker King is that once you start this runic attack against Gna, she stays in the same place 99% of the times. She just stays staggered. She takes all of the hits. Against the Berserker King, not so much. Most times I try to use against the Berserker King, he has a very high runic defense system. He can run away, he can jump out of your attack, and he will immediately attack you or do the Bifrost explosion. You will be very vulnerable. So in that case, I changed to the Nemean Crush when fighting Berserker King. As for the spear, I'm using the hint of weightless recovery, which says when the Maelstrom skill gauge is fully charged, successful spear attacks have a moderate luck chance to grant a blessing of cooldown. So again, with 354 luck, this does happen to trigger as well. As for the light runic attacks, Thrust of 1,000 Soldiers, again, it's my favorite. You can always use whatever runic attacks work for you, but considering my experience in killing the Berserker King and Gna, uh, using different builds, trying different runic attacks, these tend to be the ones that are easier to combine with the the enchantment that triggers the Bifrost Storm. As for the heavy, this one I was actually just messing around with it. If I am fighting the Berserker King, I used Honor of the Fallen. If I'm fighting Gna, the Valkyrie Queen, I use the Finger of Ruin. If I'm fighting anything else and just for the fun of it, I use the artillery of the ancients, like if I'm fighting mobs or just normal bosses. But again, you can use whatever. I will actually leave it on the honor of the fallen for the time being. For the shield, I'm using the Dauntless Shield because I like to parry, but mostly because I absolutely love this attachment, the Round of Disruption. It has a low luck chance to create an elemental storm when interrupting double blue ring attacks by double tapping L1 or parrying. Now, again, same story. With 354 luck, you see that this triggers quite a lot. And yes, these storms, elemental storms, from both the shield or the Bifrost Storm from the enchantment, they don't do massive amounts of damage because they scale with your runic stat, and we only have 222, so they are not going to do insane amounts of damage, but you will see the damage making the difference. You can see it when you have it on, when the storms are active, you can see the damage helping you get those HP bars down faster. For the Spartan Rage, I'm using Wrath just because it's an easy one to use. If I miss a parry and I get exposed, you can easily just press it. It will save your ass from a tight situation. I mean, um, if you're vulnerable, sometimes this is the thing to go for. As for the relic, again, this is the one thing that changes. If I'm fighting the Berserker King before I get the hilt of Skofnug, I'm using the hilt of Offwood, which distorts space and time by creating a realm shift. The moment I kill the Berserker King, I change to the hilt of Skofnug. Now, imagine using this relic and then the perk from the chest activates, which says moderate luck chance to using a relic, you get 70% of its cooldown. And you are going to see in the fight against the Valkyrie, this actually happens. So I start the fight, I do 3 runic attacks in succession to trigger the Bifrost Storm, and then I use the Hilt of Skofnug, and you can see that I immediately recovered 70% of its cooldown. So just before I killed Gna, I actually had it again, and I decided, why not? I'm going to kill her with the Hilt of Skofnug, just because I have it again. So you'll see it can be it is actually quite a funny kill. Now, one thing I have to say about this setup, you are not going to do massive amounts of damage uh, against bosses or even against normal enemies. You are going to do good good amounts of damage. It's not going to be bad, but it's not going to be terribly good. It's going to be somewhere in between. So I would say it's going to be an acceptable amount of damage. But what you are going to have is the opportunity to constantly recover your runic attacks and your relic. So if you are fighting different enemies in a row, with all these luck chances taking place, not only for the cooldown of your runic attacks or your relic, but also for the damaging explosions or for the elemental storms from the shield. With 354 luck, you do get these things to trigger quite a lot, and it can be very funny. It's a funny thing to do. Um, as for just a quick show up of how funny this can be, I'm just gonna go for a quick boss rush challenge, and then I will show you the fights against both the Berserker King and the Valkyrie Queen. So just because I can. Right, so this is one runic attack. I'm not worried about taking damage or not, to be honest. Yeah, so that one is down. You see, just change from... Oh my god, that is so funny. Oh my god, that was so funny. It changed from Bifrost to Hilt of Skofnug just because it's funny. Poor man. I almost feel sorry for it. Oh, you're burning. Storm of Bifrost again. And Storm of Bifrost again. Oh, and I even absorbed this Bifrost for the spear. So yeah, as you guys can see, I mean, it's not a massive amount of damage. It's acceptable, but it's so much fun to use. I mean, it's so funny. I have made many builds. Some of them I find them funny because you get enormous amounts of damage going on. But in this case, it's not necessarily about the damage. It's about everything that you see going on the screen with the storms, with the relic buffs, with the relic cooldowns and the runic attack cooldowns. It's very fun to use, and you actually get to look great. The armor is actually quite pretty, and it's fine. I hope you guys enjoyed it so far. I will now show you the fights with the Berserker King and Gna. Right, so here we go. Let's summon this Berserker. Now, parry time. Get the first runic attack in with the spear. Change for the relic and go for the blade. Runic attack with the blades, now runic attack with the axe. We got one Storm of Bifrost, Power of the Empress, Blessing of Runic. All buffs active at the same time. That's when that lucky comes in. We get another Storm of Bifrost from parrying his ranged attacks. Get some damage in. Storm of Bifrost finishes. Get him out of the skies. He gets stunned. First runic attack with a blade. Second runic attack with the axe. And finally we do the third with the spear, but he did manage to dodge. We get a third Storm of Bifrost. Oh, he's flying, trying to get us. Unfortunately, this Storm of Bifrost is not going to be fully used. Get some damage in, get rid of his ice shield. Get the parry. Oh, exposed, rage. You see, this is one of those situations that I do recommend getting the Wrath. Get the parry. No storm this time, so we're gonna go for the storm ourselves with the runic attacks. First with the blade, second with the axe, and now going with the spear. He does manage to dodge it, but we get the Storm of Bifrost activated. Get the parry. Another Storm of Bifrost, so that's the fourth Storm of Bifrost so far. No, actually it's the fifth by now, because we got two in a row. We stagger him with the explosion. Oh, dodge. There's another Storm of Bifrost from this parry, so this is 6 Storms of Bifrost against the Berserker King. 6 Storms of Bifrost. Get the dodge. Get some damage in. Parry. Parry. 7 Storms of Bifrost. Holy Jesus. 7 Storms of Bifrost between parries and runic attacks. It's just awesome. All the buffs going on at the same time. Now let's go for the Valkyrie Queen. Yes, the results will be the same. Let's do this, Brutus. Right, jumping attack. First, runic attack with a spear. Quickly change for the blades that tame the beast. At the same time we are taming the beast, we do the runic attack with Freya. We change for the axe, do the runic, change for Skofnug, and activate everything at the same time. And just look at this insane amount of damage. Storms of Frost, Storms of Bifrost. She is burning. Well, gotta dodge that. Do some more damage. Let's go for try to get another Storm of Bifrost. Blessing of Runic is on. We do the second runic attack. Still with the Blessing of Runic, we get another Storm of Bifrost with the spear. Let's explode those spears. Oh, she managed to escape. Oh, that was a close one. We got the Storm of Bifrost, so it's good when she's jumping on top of us. Blessing of Cooldown, another Storm of Bifrost from interrupting the double blue ringed attack, and we will finish her off. Get some more damage in, Skofnog is back, and we'll just get this under control, and she's down. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please consider subscribing if you haven't yet. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And this is Kadima saying goodbye. Cheerio!